Hello and welcome to this taste challenge. Yes, the today. Well, I just drank kind of light beers today. All right. I have two 40% alcohol Canadian blended whiskeys with natural flavors, both bottled in the United States and both owned by the Sazerac Company. This is James, and both acquired by them, not started by them. This is James Foxe, Canadian whiskey with natural flavors, bottled by James Foxe Distilling Company from Kentucky. But it's funny that they put that because you look at the neck of the bottle and it says, "We love to hear from our customers, Sazerac.com." And we know what Sazerac's distillery in Frankfort, Kentucky is called. It's not called James Foxe. It's called Buffalo Trace. So there it is with that. What is that color? Burgundy, gold, orange. There's the Fox for James Foxe. James Foxe was a real person in the Canadian government, but an obscure person. I don't think he had much to do with whiskey production, but that's what these companies do. They'll sort of like co-opt a name from history and they'll say it's a real person. It's not real important. But anyway, there it is. The bottle hasn't changed much. The bottle design, the bottle design has changed, but the label hasn't really changed much in 50 years. So it was introduced in 1975 by Seagram's Distilling Company, which at the time was the biggest distilling company in the world. And for whatever reason, they introduced this as a whiskey for the 1970s, even though they owned Crown Royal and had started Crown Royal. So it's kind of a mystery why they thought they needed it. But I guess they wanted a more a lower priced product. But and they put a few ads out in the magazines, and then they just sort of forgot about it. And 14 short years later, only 14 years later, they sold it to the Sazerac Company. Sold the brand along with Dr. McGillicuddy's Fireball, which wasn't selling, but now Fireball is a super hot product for Sazerac because they rebranded it, marketed it. They didn't change it. They just rebranded it, marketed it better. They still make Dr. McGillicuddy's in those little medicine bottles or the regular size. They're shaped like a medicine bottle, but I don't think they're really popular. You see them around here or there. So I'll show you an older bottle on the screen share, and you'll see it's very similar. Here's Oak Park's Canadian Lake. Oak Park Distilling of Baltimore, Maryland. No, they don't make it. They just bottle it there. It has to be made in Canada. It has the identical label to Canadian Leaf. If you look up Canadian Leaf, do a Google or Yahoo or whatever image search for Canadian Leaf whiskey, and you'll see the exact same label except it says Leaf instead of Lake. And strangely, they're both bottled at Oak Park Distilling in Baltimore, Maryland. So I don't know why a company would do that. Like, what would be the rationale to make two products with the identical label? I don't know. Leave it up to Sazerac to make a strange product. And it's only in plastic handle. Plastic. If you get the 750, it's plastic. It's really cheap. It's got that interesting bottle design, though, which do come in glass and some other brands. Now, this comes in glass, but plastic if you get the big bottle, which I've seen around. Total Wine doesn't have it. They carry this. They don't have that. But other companies do sell this, other places here and there. Now, I bought this at Elio's Wine Warehouse. They don't have it right now in stock. This was like back during the scamdemic. They had this on discount for $4.99 a bottle, full size. And they're right across the street from Tulane University. Perfect place. Tulane University, university, liquor store. Works out. Just like Broadway Liquors right on the corner, right by the university. It works out. But if you bought a case, it was $4.17 a bottle. $50 for a case. So for $50, you could get 12 bottles. Or you could buy one bottle for $4.99. And my friend David was like, let's split it. We can pay $25 each, you know, plus tax, and then we'll have 6 bottles each. I said, but what are we going to do with it? Do you know anybody that wants it? He's like, no. I said, do you want to drink it? And he was saying no. And I said, I don't even really want to drink it. I just, for that price, I mean, what the heck? I'll do taste challenges. Ain't hurt nothing. Oh, got to get the glasses. Sorry about this. And I washed these very carefully this morning, with very hot water. Well, hot water, not scalding water, but hot water and soap. And I mean, I had that sponge, you know, on the soft side. Naturally, I don't want to scratch the glass, but really, and spraying it clean. So I had these drip dry, they're clean. I got 2 left. If I break these, I'm screwed up. Okay, 1975. Yeah, I bet you there's at least a dozen people in the world who have loved this since 1975. Shouldn't say that kind of stuff, but I've actually never seen this in my town. I saw it in Madisonville, Louisiana, on Louisiana Highway 22. I saw it in New Orleans, Louisiana, off of, like I said, at Elio's US Highway 90. And I've seen it a couple of other places, which I don't remember, but they were around, you know, it's like here or there. But to say it's everywhere, nah, might be in your town. Now, Canadian Lake, I've seen it once at Total Wine, Metairie, Louisiana, $15.99. They're out of stock, but I just checked, and they do have it in stock across the lake in Mandeville, Louisiana, which is 25 miles across the lake. So it's around, but not common. Now, what are common Canadian whiskeys around here? Obviously, Crown Royal. Most people carry 40 Creek. I don't see people buying it, but they carry it. I don't see a lot of people buying it. Canadian Hunter, yes. Rich and Rare, always. Rich and Rare Reserve, usually. Canadian Limited, almost all the time. I can't think of anything. Oh, Pendleton. Sometimes they sell Pendleton, but like Walmart has it. It's kind of pricey. I never bought it. That's supposed to be a good one, you know, like a quality one. And then, like I said, Winn-Dixie has another kind of fancier one that I think is a private label that's made by Sazerac, but they don't say it on there, but I get that impression. But I'm not even going to talk about it because I've never bought it, and I got too much backstock, Canadian backstock as it stands. But I would buy it. And then Rouse's has one, like I showed you, that strange looking bottle. And I can't remember the name of it. And I think it's a private label for Rouse's, but they're not going to admit it. Okay. Appearance. They're both gold. Natural flavors. What are the flavors? We talked about this morning. People were making comments. We don't know. It is a legal term, though. We were talking about legal terms versus marketing terms. Natural flavors is a legal term. All right. There's 2 types of flavoring in food and drugs and medicine. You know, because vitamins have natural flavors, so children will eat it. There's natural and artificial, and they're not the same. If you think they're the same, you need to do the research. They're not the same. Natural, artificial, 2 types. The whiskey is allowed to have natural flavors. not artificial. And what I've read, they didn't really prove it. Okay, that they use wine sometimes to flavor it. Wine, which makes sense. Here's what the old bottles look like. You can see this bottle was faded though. I don't think it was that light. I think it just faded over the, red is bad. If you collect bottles, the red is bad, boy, it fades. Even if it's not in the light, it just fades. Produced under Canadian supervision means nothing because all whiskey is produced under the supervision of the Canadian government. Produced exclusively by Seagram Distillers Company. Okay, see? That's an empty bottle. But like I said, I guess the sale was that good, so they sold it to Sazerac, and they changed the bottle design to their own design, their own bottles, Did they even change the Foxe a little bit? No, it's the same exact Foxe design. They just modified it, but it's the same. It just modified the outlines, but it's the same exact Foxe design, same exact writing for James Foxe, same color scheme, except that, like I said, this one's faded. Now that's what it looks like on specs in Texas, and this is their write-up on it. James Foxe Canadian, which they spelled incorrectly with the E. A pretty good dram, this value Canadian. Notes of caramel and spice. Best mix, but you take it straight up to, who wrote best mix, but you take it straight up to. And I 5 other online liquor stores, and they had the same exact write-up. So it's obviously somewhere. But whoever wrote this needs to learn how to write. Best mix, comma, but you can take it straight up, comma, to. Do I have to teach these people how to spell? 1557. That's for not what they're showing. That's for a handle, the big jug bottle. That's not regular. That's not the price for the regular bottle. Okay, Canadian Lake. What's going on here? Okay, there it is. I think that means from sea to sea. There's the indication on it. Now, some people from Canada were actually commenting and saying they bottle it in the United States. That's really strange. They thought that was strange. I said, well, that's common. They do a lot of Canadian whiskeys bottled. Canadian Club, very famous. Canadian Club bottled in the United States, in Illinois, and Blackfoot is bottled in the United States and Kentucky. So it's not unusual. Now, I think Crown Royal is bottled up there in Canada, though. So, but it doesn't have to be bottled in Canada. It just has to be distilled and aged in Canada. This sounds like a good matchup, says Ronnie. Yes. It'll be close because they're not that different from one another. And I got to get this done because I'd like to go watch. I don't have to get it done, but I would like to go watch this exciting basketball game coming up on ESPN2, live from the University of Alabama at Birmingham, right there in downtown Birmingham, which I've been to so many times. Oh, so many times. Okay. Same Foxe, different bottle, right. All right. Did I get a good deal on both of these? I think so. $15.99, can't complain for this Canadian Lake. $4.99, I mean, that's crazy. That's not the normal price. That's amazingly cheap. There's an exciting Mets game on right now. Oh, preseason. I'm sorry, I can't get excited about games that don't count. I'm not knocking it. Somebody was telling me yesterday at work, man, he's talking about the Dodgers record. They got a whatever record, really good record. And I said, well, it's preseason. I was like, it doesn't count. It's just practice. But other people love it. So I'm not down in that. I'm not dogging that because when the NFL comes in August, people be watching all the preseason games like, oh man, did you see that great touchdown? I'm like, it does not count. Anyway, here we go. Dodgers got beat by the Rockies 2-0 the other day in a practice game. Brian Carpenter says, cheers, clinking the mugs. Cheers to you, Brian. Cheers to you, Ronnie. Cheers to everybody. Okay, I'm going to really try hard to do this. I got it right 3 times and I've gotten it wrong once. So that's 75%. It's going to be tough because these are very close. I just think they're making the same type product. I'm not saying they're making an identical product. May as well be. But I'm not saying they're identical. But they're probably coming from the same distillery in Canada. More than likely Sazerac's Canadian distillery would make sense. But that's not necessarily the case. And then they're bottled in the United States. But it's not about it counting. I just like baseball. Okay, fair enough. If you like it and it's practice and it doesn't matter, then enjoy it. I do look forward to March 30th. Isn't that the first regular game? I always love to watch the games. Okay, I've been watching basketball, naturally. College baseball started last month. Been watching that. Nobody cries in baseball. There's no crying in baseball. But there is in softball. All right. Okay, enough of that. All right. Man, it's like I keep smelling the same thing. It smells like corn. Well, heck, it is mostly corn. Canadian whiskey and bourbon is very similar. They're not identical, but they're very similar. In some ways, and in other ways they're not. I said similar. I didn't say identical. Maybe less corn, maybe more bread. So maybe this has higher malt whiskey, higher percentage of malted barley whiskey, and maybe this has a higher percentage of sweet corn. This I do not know. Taste time. So familiar with this flavor. It's become so redundant. It's like the same thing. Sazerac is like making the same thing again and again. It's the nuttiness, like nut oil, walnut oil, almond oil extract, almond oil, vanilla extract. I don't know. To me, it tastes like cane sugar. But all whiskey tastes like sugar water to me. These are even more sugary. I don't know if sugar would count as a flavoring. I think it's considered a sweetener, not a flavoring. I know that's splitting hairs, but I think that's the way they look at it. Yeah. I mean, you could drink it straight because it tastes like a cocktail, because it tastes like they added vanilla and doggone nuts and sugar cube to it already. It tastes to me like it's already pre-mixed. You say, well, I ain't drinking no whiskey with flavoring in it. Yeah, but don't buy these. Burley Sullivan says, you. Hey, cheers back to you. Oh, yeah, same old thing. A little bit more of that yeasty, I don't know, like fermented something. Grain. I mean, but it's like, yeah, fermented and it's distilled. And then it's like they decided, let's get some Duncan Hines cream cheese frosting and put it in the whiskey. Oh, man. These are so funny. You know, like Karen said with the helicopter, it's funny. It's funny. She wasn't saying it was funny later, but it at the shopping center it seemed funny to her. You know. They're not heavy body. I mean, they're medium body. They're finished kind of dry. There's no bite to it. That's probably why they add the vanilla to smooth out any bite. Because without the flavoring, it might be a little rough. While they're adding the flavoring. Now, do I appreciate Sazerac at least telling me on the bottle that they're adding flavoring? Yeah, I do appreciate that because they're not required to do it. They could just say Canadian whiskey, but a blend. Well, they have to put that. They do have to put that if it's blended. They could either say Canadian whiskey a blend or blended Canadian whiskey. Same thing, but they got to put that on the label. That's required. You say, well, what if it's a single malt, all malt? Well, then they would put whatever brand Canadian single malt whiskey, which is made, but it's not widely made. I mean, you don't see it. It's not widely sold. Okay. I got another one in the other room that says 100% rye whiskey. All right. It's a 100% rye whiskey with Canadian. It might be blended with different rye whiskeys. Now, I'm not saying that. It could be different rye whiskeys of various ages blended together. That's not what I'm talking about. But 100% of the grain in that one in the other room is rye. All right. There's no malted barley. There's no corn. There's no wheat. It's just rye. These are blended. So they're going to have mostly corn, theoretically, at least. We don't know what you would assume because it's kind of inexpensive. Rye and malted barley and maybe wheat. Maybe wheat. I don't get that impression with these that they have wheat. But I do get the impression that it's just like bourbon, 75% rye, corn. You might have 15% rye, 10% malted barley, something like that. Like so many bourbons be just like that. Have I had rock and rye? No, but I see it around. And that is the liquor enthusiast commenting. The liquor enthusiast commenting. His new name. Now, do I like what I just tasted? I mean, I like it. I don't love it. It's a little too sweet for my palate, but I know so many people, they all into sugar, man. Everything with them is sugar, sugar, sugar. They probably love it. I just as soon drink something that's more like not sugary, drier, I guess. Like Crown Royal or Rich and Rare Reserve. Not Rich and Rare. Now, Rich and Rare is just like these. It's questionable. But the Rich and Rare Reserve does not say Canadian whiskey with natural flavors. It just says Canadian whiskey blend or blended Canadian whiskey. I don't remember. Same thing. But and it tastes a lot better. Okay. To me, that's me speaking. Can't answer for other people. Just think this is the James Foxe. Because I remember the James Foxe being a little yeastier. Is there a vast difference between the two? No. A little difference. Yeastier, more sugary, more vanilla-ish. Probably the James Foxe, probably the Canadian Lake. I did get it right. Yeah, baby. No, as an expert on all these things, now if I'd have lost, I'd have started making excuses. No, but yeah, there was some subtle differences, and it was like my mind was telling me, remember back in 2022 when you did James Foxe and it had that yeasty thing, and I was like, yeah. Um, I can't argue on price because they're about the same price. So they sell for the same price, and the availability is sketchy for both. I'm talking about Louisiana. Now you might say, I live in Wisconsin and we got it everywhere. James Fox is everywhere. I get that, but over here where I live, these are not common, and they're practically unavailable. Practically unavailable. You can find them, but in a general sense, you're not going to find them. If you just say, pull over there and let's get some whiskey, well, chances are wherever you pulled over is going to have a lot of Canadian whiskey, but it ain't going to be one of these. I'm just talking about Louisiana. Like I say, Wisconsin could be a whole new lineup. And I've noticed that state to state, it's always a different lineup, different stuff. Even with beer, even with wine, definitely with beer. Not so much anymore with beer. It used to be a lot different years ago. 20 years ago, it would be like you in a different world. Every state you went to had so much different beer. It was like, oh, I never seen all these brands. You'd be all fascinated and everything. Now you go and it's like, Bud Light, Michelob Ultra, Stone IPA, Samuel. It's like the same stuff, but with a few differences. But years ago, it was some of the same stuff with a whole lot of differences. Talking about road trips. And that's the story with that. So I prefer James Fox, but only by a very small margin. Now, you want to see what's coming up next time, which will probably be a couple of days. You want to see what's coming up? Anyone? You want to see what's coming up going once? You want to see what's coming up going twice? Going. All right, well, you'll have to wait. Currently drinking Jameson Black Barrel. Oh, now we're talking. Yvonne Ray Aguiano says, oh, yeah, now we're talking about a real good product. I wouldn't want to put these two up against that because A, it wouldn't be a challenge. It would not be a challenge. And secondly, the results would not be pretty. But it wouldn't be a fair challenge, and it wouldn't make any sense to do it, honestly. Canadian blended whiskey versus Irish. Ain't no way going to confuse the two, so it would be a pointless thing to do. Yvonne says, became my favorite instantly. Yeah, I get that. I definitely get that. I don't have any more left, but that probably would be my favorite if I still have it. That or the Distilling small batch. All right, well, I don't want to miss the game. I'm going to watch the game. So check back next time. And the one I have, and I'm not showing it on camera, I'll bring it into competition against Canadian Lake. All right, cheers to y'all. Take care. Bye-bye, everybody.